I'll never forget that night. It started like any ordinary dinner, just me and her, sitting across from each other at the little bistro we'd discovered last month. The kind of place with soft lights, rustic wooden tables, and music that's just loud enough to fill the silence without being annoying. I thought I knew her, really knew her, but that night changed everything. She smiled across the table, swirling the wine in her glass like she always did, the one motion that somehow made her seem both nervous and confident at the same time. I laughed at a joke I'd made, and she laughed too. But then, just like that, she reached up and unclasped her necklace. A simple gold chain, nothing fancy, but the way she held it in her hand made me pause. Something about her hesitation, the way her fingers lingered on it, it didn't feel casual. "Where did you get that?" I asked, trying to keep my voice light, to keep the mood normal. She froze for a second, almost too long. And then, she just shrugged and set it in her lap. "Oh, it's nothing," she said, smiling. But it wasn't nothing. I could feel it. The tension, the secret she wasn't ready to share. At first, I tried to brush it off. Maybe I was imagining things. Maybe I was reading too much into a simple gesture. But then my eyes caught the engraving. Tiny letters, almost hidden, and yet somehow, I recognized them instantly. My heart skipped a beat, because I'd seen those initials before. Not just anywhere, on something that belonged to another man. A man she had never mentioned. I tried to keep my calm, tried to focus on finishing my pasta, on the chatter of the other diners around us. But all I could think about was that necklace, and the idea that everything I thought I knew about her, about us, might have been built on a lie. She noticed my staring. "What is it?" she asked softly, leaning forward, and suddenly the warmth in her eyes felt like a challenge. I wanted to confront her, to demand the truth, but a part of me froze, afraid of what I might uncover. And that's when she said something that made my stomach drop, something that didn't make sense at first, but later, I realized it was the first piece of a puzzle I wasn't ready to solve. I looked down at the table, at the dim candlelight flickering over her hand, still holding that necklace, and I realized this was more than just a piece of jewelry. It was a story, someone else's story, and somehow, I was tangled in it now, whether I wanted to be or not. I wanted to ask her who he was. I wanted to demand answers. But something told me that the truth, when it came, would hit me harder than anything I could imagine. And just like that, the woman I thought I knew disappeared behind a secret I couldn't yet name. Her name is Emily. I met her almost 2 years ago at a friend's birthday party, and from the very start, there was something magnetic about her. She had this way of laughing that made you forget your own troubles, a spark in her eyes that could light up a room. We fell into each other's lives quickly, as if we'd been waiting for it without knowing. I'll admit, at first, it felt too good to be true. Emily was charming, smart, funny, and yet, she had this subtle air of mystery, like there were corners of her life she didn't let anyone see. I didn't mind at first. Everyone has secrets, right? But looking back, maybe that should have been a warning. We'd built a comfortable rhythm together, weekend hikes, late-night talks over coffee, quiet dinners at home. I thought I knew her routines, her likes and dislikes, the stories she told about her past. I trusted her. I loved her. And she seemed to feel the same. But that necklace, that one small, gold chain, had the power to shatter everything. Because it wasn't hers. Not really. The engraving, I had memorized it the instant I saw it, belonged to someone else. Someone who had meant something to her before me. And I had no idea who. Emily had never mentioned him. Never hinted at another man who had been part of her life in a way that left a mark, literal and permanent, on something she still wore close to her heart. And suddenly, every memory, every little story she'd told me, felt like it could have been selective truth, carefully chosen to hide something. I tried to think rationally. Maybe it was innocent. Maybe it was just a keepsake from a friend, a family heirloom, something from a past she didn't feel was important to share. But my gut told me it was more than that. My gut told me there was a story she wasn't ready to tell. And if I pushed too hard, maybe I'd regret it. That night at dinner, the air between us felt different. The warm laughter, the clinking glasses, the soft music in the background. All of it suddenly carried a weight I hadn't noticed before. I couldn't tell if she sensed my unease, or if she was just as careful as ever at hiding her truths. And yet, there was something in her eyes that night, a flicker of hesitation, a shadow of guilt, that hinted at the secret she carried. I wanted to ask, but I hesitated. I didn't want to fracture the fragile world we'd built. But I couldn't ignore the feeling that something was about to change. I left the restaurant that night with more questions than answers. The necklace's presence in my mind like a quiet drumbeat I couldn't escape. And deep down, I knew that whatever story it carried, it wasn't just her past. It was about to collide with my present in ways I couldn't yet imagine. And that's when I realized. The next time I saw her, I wouldn't just be seeing Emily. I'd be stepping into a story she hadn't finished telling me. The next few days, I couldn't stop thinking about that necklace. Every time I saw Emily, I found myself staring at her hand, at that delicate gold chain she wore like it was nothing. But I knew it wasn't nothing. I tried to act normal, to laugh and talk like I always did, but inside, my mind was spinning with questions I didn't have answers to. Finally, I decided to ask, carefully, casually, without giving away how much it was tearing at me. "Emily, can I ask you something about that necklace?" I said one evening as we sat on the couch, the TV playing quietly in the background. She looked at me for a long moment, her eyes searching mine, and I swear I saw something flicker there. Surprise? Hesitation? Fear? "It's just something from my past," she said softly, almost too softly, brushing it off. "Past?" I repeated, trying to keep my voice steady. "Whose past?" Her hand trembled just slightly as she tucked the chain under her shirt. "It doesn't matter," she whispered, and that was when I felt the first real pang of doubt. Something about the way she avoided my eyes, the way her fingers clenched the necklace for just a heartbeat too long, told me this wasn't a small story. I tried to push the thought away. Maybe I was imagining it. Maybe I was letting paranoia take over. But then little things started stacking up. Texts she quickly deleted, vague mentions of friends I'd never met, phone calls she took in private that she didn't answer for hours. Every piece of her normal life suddenly seemed layered, concealed, fragile, and I started noticing patterns I hadn't seen before. The way she'd glance at her phone when I walked into a room, the subtle flinch when certain names came up in conversation, the quiet sighs she'd release when she thought I wasn't looking. Each of these moments alone could be innocent, but together, they felt like clues I wasn't supposed to find. By the end of the week, I realized something frightening. I didn't just wonder about her past anymore. I feared it. I feared what that necklace represented, what story it carried, and whether I was stepping into a chapter of her life that wasn't meant for me. And then, late one night, while she thought I was asleep, I saw it, just for a second, a message pop up on her phone. His name, the same initials engraved on that necklace. My heart stopped, and I felt a cold, sinking certainty. This wasn't just her past. Someone from her past was still very much a part of her life. And I had no idea how deep it went. The next days were unbearable. I couldn't sleep, couldn't focus at work, couldn't stop replaying every detail of her gestures, her words, the way that necklace glinted under the light. I tried to tell myself I was overreacting, that maybe the message I saw was innocent, a wrong name, a joke, a coincidence. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. I knew I was standing at the edge of something I wasn't prepared for. Emily seemed different too. Subtle shifts in her behavior that I hadn't noticed before became impossible to ignore. She laughed less freely, avoided certain topics, and sometimes, when I looked at her, I could see a flicker of something that scared me. Guilt, maybe, or fear of being caught. I wanted to confront her, to demand the truth, but every time I tried, her soft voice, her gentle eyes, stopped me. It was like a magnet, pulling me back, making me doubt myself. One evening, we went for a walk along the river. The city lights reflected on the water, glittering like shards of glass, and I tried to enjoy it, tried to keep things normal. But my thoughts were elsewhere. I couldn't stop thinking about the necklace, the message, the initials. "Emily," I started cautiously, my voice low, almost a whisper against the gentle hum of the city. "There's something you're not telling me, isn't there?" She froze, turning to face me fully. Her hands tightened around her coat pockets, and for a moment, I thought she might run. I don't know what you mean," she said, but her eyes betrayed her. "Don't lie to me," I said, my voice shaking. "I saw the message. I saw the initials. Who is he?" Her lips parted, and I could see her struggling to form words. The air between us felt electric, thick with tension, as if the night itself was holding its breath. "It's complicated," she finally whispered, her voice barely audible. "You don't understand. Try me." I urged, stepping closer, my heart pounding. I can handle the truth. But I need to know. She looked down, then back up, her eyes glossy, and I saw the conflict raging in her expression. The woman I loved, the woman I thought I knew, was holding something back, something dangerous, something that could change everything between us. And then, just as I was about to reach for her hand, her phone buzzed in her coat pocket. She hesitated, her face draining of color, and for the first time, I saw fear. Not just the fear of being caught in a lie, but a deeper, darker fear, like she was afraid of what revealing the truth might unleash. She pulled the phone out, glanced at it, and I saw the look in her eyes that made my stomach drop. That single glance told me everything I needed to know. The man from her past wasn't gone. He wasn't just a memory. He was real, and he was here. And in that moment, I realized I wasn't just about to learn a secret. I was about to step into a world I hadn't imagined existed. Because what she was hiding was bigger than me, bigger than us, and it was coming for both of us. I thought I was ready for the truth. I thought I could handle it. But nothing could have prepared me for what came next. Later that night, Emily finally sat me down, her hands trembling as she spoke. She admitted the necklace belonged to a man from her past, but not just any man. He was someone dangerous, someone who hadn't just left her life. He was still obsessed with her, watching her, waiting. My chest tightened. Every warning sign, every uneasy feeling I'd brushed aside, suddenly clicked into place. And then she said it, the part that made my blood run cold. The man wasn't just someone she'd known before me. He had been in our lives all along. He had seen us together. He had followed her. And now, he knew about me. I froze. The world shifted under my feet. This wasn't about betrayal anymore. This was about real danger. The past wasn't buried. It was hunting us. In that moment, I realized the necklace wasn't just a piece of jewelry. It was a signal, a warning. And by holding it, Emily had unknowingly invited him back into our lives. I looked at her, heart pounding, and asked the question that would change everything. Where is he now? Her answer sent a shiver down my spine, one I knew I'd never shake. Her words still echoed in my ears. He's close. He's here. My pulse raced as I tried to process what she meant. My mind conjured every possible scenario, none of them good. We didn't waste time. Emily grabbed her coat, and I followed, both of us moving faster than we had ever moved before. The streets were eerily quiet, the kind of silence that presses against your chest and makes every step sound like thunder. I could feel the tension tightening between us, a mix of fear, adrenaline, and something unspoken, trust hanging by a thread. She led me to the old pier, the place she said she had met him years ago. My stomach churned as shadows stretched across the water. Then I saw him, a tall figure, partially hidden under the dim lamplight, just standing there, waiting. The initials on the necklace flashed in my memory, and suddenly everything made sense. The obsession, the secrecy, the fear in her eyes. Emily, I whispered, but she shook her head. She stepped forward, her voice trembling. Don't let him see you scared. The man's head turned slowly, and in that instant, recognition passed between them. My heart slammed against my ribs. He had not only been in her past, he had been watching, calculating, and now, he was confronting us. I felt a surge of anger and protectiveness I hadn't known I possessed. Stay behind me, I said. But Emily didn't move. She faced him, her eyes defiant. And then she said something that made my blood run cold. You won't take him from me. Not now, not ever. Before I could react, he lunged. Chaos erupted. I grabbed her arm, pulling her back, but she twisted out of my grip. She faced him like she'd faced every fear in her life. And in that moment, I realized the real twist. The danger hadn't been me protecting her, it had been her all along. She wasn't helpless. She had been surviving him, controlling him, playing a dangerous game that I had only just begun to understand. And then, in one swift movement, she did something I could never have predicted, something that left him frozen, stunned, powerless. The man from her past wasn't leaving alive, and yet, somehow, the nightmare wasn't fully over. I stepped back, chest heaving, heart still pounding, and she looked at me. Her eyes were wild, exhausted, and yet unshakably determined. We're not safe yet, she said. And in that moment, I realized the story I thought had ended had only just begun. The night air was cold, but somehow, after the chaos, it felt alive. The man from her past was gone, or at least, we didn't see him anymore, but the tension he brought lingered like smoke in a room. I sat beside Emily on the pier, both of us trembling, exhausted, and silent. For the first time, we could breathe, and yet, everything had changed. She finally unclasped the necklace and held it in her hand. "It's over," she whispered, though her voice wavered. "I've faced him. I've survived him. And now, I'm free." But I had to keep it hidden to survive. I reached for her hand, my fingers brushing against hers, feeling the warmth and the fear still coiled in her. "Emily, I don't fully understand everything that happened. I may never understand all of it. But I'm here. I stayed. And that's what matters." She looked at me, eyes glossy, a fragile smile breaking through. "I wanted to tell you. I wanted to so many times. But I had to be sure he was gone first. I didn't want you hurt." It hit me then how strong she had been all along. I had thought I was protecting her, but in reality, she had been protecting herself. And, unknowingly, protecting me too. The necklace, the secrets, the fear, they were all pieces of her survival story, and I had only just stepped into the final chapter. We stayed there for hours, talking in fragments, laughing nervously, and letting the tension slowly bleed out. We didn't solve every mystery, didn't explain every shadow in her past, but for the first time, there was clarity. We could face what came next together. And in that quiet, under the reflection of the city lights on the water, I realized something important. Life is full of secrets, mistakes, and moments we don't understand. Sometimes, the people we love carry burdens we can't see. And sometimes, trust isn't about knowing every detail. It's about staying, even when everything feels uncertain. Eventually, we walked home hand in hand. The city was waking up to the soft hum of early morning, and for the first time in weeks, the weight of fear felt lighter. We didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but we knew we could face it together. As we reached her door, she paused, looking down at the necklace one last time. "I'm done hiding," she said. And then she smiled, softly, but with a quiet strength I had never seen before. I nodded, squeezing her hand. Then we moved forward. Together. And as she disappeared inside, leaving the necklace on the table, I realized that some stories aren't just about secrets being revealed. They're about the courage to face them, to survive, and to choose someone willing to stay by your side, no matter what shadows your past may hold. The necklace would always be a reminder, not of betrayal, but of strength, survival, and the delicate, powerful bond we had built in the most impossible of circumstances. And in that moment, I knew, love doesn't erase the past. It simply gives you the courage to face it.